Hello, all the crazy people out there. My name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games, and welcome back to making 3D games in GameMaker. So last time, I officially finished off the player movement section of this project, and for the next few weeks, my focus is going to be mainly focused on dealing with magic gameplay, and casting spells and having things react to spells and that kind of thing. So today, I'm going to be setting up some systems to make that happen. I don't really expect that I'll be getting to any actual, like implementing any actual spells today, but I will start writing a general system to allow that to happen. Firstly, I think I'm going to go and define a, let's call it obj spell. Let's uncheck that visible box. So basic properties common to all spells. I'm going to implement different spells by subclassing the parent spell object. And although for the most part within the game we can just refer to spells by their object type and whatever, when it comes to saving the game, I will want to give each spell an ID of sorts, so that we can, like, we don't want to save actual object indices, right? That would be all kinds of disaster. And I don't really want to save things by name either. So I'm going to create an enum, and I'm going to call it eSpellTypes. GameMaker, what was that? The code editor lagged for a moment, and then I'd try to autofill with something completely different. So we'll have, for example, push, we'll have unlock, we'll have... What were some of the other ones that I wanted to do? I don't want to make these all just like clones of the Potter spells, but a lot of them will be based on that. Bounce pads. Alright, bounce pads are fun. Everyone likes those. Slow time. Not completely sold on that yet. That'll definitely be a little bit more involved implementation-wise. But it would be fun. Time permitting. Mind read, bloom flower. Just because I write these down doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be implemented, but I will write them down here. What was the other one? Illuminate. That was probably my favorite one to implement in Wizarducks. And I guess I should probably also have like a null spell type. And someone just started running a wood chipper outside. I really hope I can edit that out of my audio. Anyway, I suppose we can also like make this a variable definition. Variable definitions are fun. We can set that to an expression. GameMaker. Let's see. These things are going to move through the air, so they're also going to need, let's say, self dot, should I make it a vector, or should I just have x speed, y speed, z speed? Oh, you know what, I can make those variable definitions too, because we can set those in. When we cast them, we can set those in the instance create function now. Anyway, let's see. In the step event, shall we say, we can do a little raycast. Obj game dot collision. It's just dot collision. I think it's just dot collision. All right, and from there we can say check ray. The ray can just be basically the direction that we're moving in. That should probably be normalized. Actually, should I do a line cast instead and do a to from? That might make more sense. I'm also going to want the actual position, and the ray can be the origin and the motion. And we can check the ray, and the collision mask can just be the default, I think, for now. So we can take the raycast result. That will be either undefined or a raycast hit info struct. The distance that the distance that a spell can move in a step, I'll just call this they should move faster than the player, right? Let's say 640 units per second. And then if raycast result distance is less than or equal to velocity times the delta time scale, then we can, let's say, instance destroy. And we can just print something out, informing us that we have been destroyed. You know what? I'm not going to do x speed, y speed, z speed. I am going to make this a vector. Let's make that an expression like that. We will have to make sure that that is normalized. There are a lot of things I do like about making all of the things in your game just like struct-based instead of GameMaker objects. Like being able to define your position as a vector 3 and whatever, however you want, instead of having to use GameMaker's system. But I do think that ultimately using GameMaker objects for objects in your game are a more efficient way to work. Anyway, let's assume that the velocity has a, or the speed, whatever, has a magnitude of however fast the spell is traveling. What would that be? Magnitude. And then, else, if the spell doesn't hit anything, self.x plus equals self.speed.x times dt. Same for y and z. If GameMaker's position value was just a vector of sorts, you could just say vector.add, but we can't, so that's annoying. Let's see. So this is our spell object. I suppose I should probably commit that. That's going to be our spell object. Oh, you know what I also should do is, and this won't be permanent by any means, but matrix set, matrix world, matrix build. We're going to need to actually draw something on the screen where the spell is located just so that we can see it. That was very messy. We're going to set the world matrix. We're going to set the identity matrix when we're done. Matrix build identity. And we will vertex submit obj game dot, what was it, debug. Let's say debug sphere. PR triangle list, no texture. So that's going to be our visualization of the spell for the time being. And we should also say, oh, since they're just particles, these things won't need to be like drawn permanently. I'll probably just have it emit particles at its position in the step event, and like burst something else when it hits a wall. So we can perform our draw event. So the player should next be able to cast a spell. Let's obj player. We can start working on allowing the player to cast. I think I'm going to write a method, maybe an NPC instead of player. But when the player controls are handled, let's start in the default state. And we can put that in a method called handle casting, much like handle jumping, climbing, whatever. Why can I not capitalize? And this is just going to be a matter of if input check. I don't remember what I called all the verbs, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be something like cast. Yeah. Alright, so the verb is just named cast. If we input check that. Input check pressed. Because we don't want to do it continuously. I guess we'll start by... See, it'll be a bit of a problem if I spawn it at the player's position, because then the spell will do a raycast inside the player, and since it doesn't have any fancy mask information, it'll just fizzle when it hits the player, which is going to be annoying, but... and we will use the instance creation parameters here. What it really should be is, like, originate some distance in front of the player, but actually that might potentially allow the player to like, cast through a wall if they're standing right up next to a wall, which I don't like. Alright, I'll just mess with the mask later so that it can't interfere with the thing that cast it. The speed, the velocity is what I care about. So, the direction probably would make sense to cast in the direction that the camera's looking. And to get that, I think I can just say, is it begin step or pre-draw or something? Anyway, it's camera, like, x2 minus camera x, right? That's the direction. Let's go with that. So we can do the usual dx, dy, dz. I'm going to have to feed this into a vector. New vector 3, dx, dy, dz. We'll normalize that, and we will, let's say static spell velocity is 640. I'll normalize that and then mul multiplied by spell velocity. And then we can, wait, is speed a reserved word? Is GameMaker going to try and do things with speed automatically? It is, isn't it? GameMaker, why do you have to be like this? Not sure if it's been officially decided if, like, new runtime will, gotta also get rid of those instances. If new runtime will allow you to strip out the automatic built-in variables of GameMaker objects, but it'd be super nice if it does. Anyway, I'll call it there for now. So that should create a thing if I click the mouse, hit the cast button. What is the cast button? Wait. Cast is C or MB underscore left. Alright. I was hoping it was MB underscore left. If I hit the cast button, I should be able to see, briefly, a crash message, because we do not have a Z value here. That's nice. I wanted to make this inherit from entity. Yeah, X speed, Y speed, Z speed, and all that. Would it be more trouble than it's worth to have spells inherit from entity? It probably, it totally will, won't it? Alright. Let's, not go super overboard with, the inheritance or whatever. I will need to make sure that our depth shenanigans don't get any funny ideas. Alright. Let's try that again. And if I click, we are apparently not moving anywhere. I don't know why that is. Alright, I suppose the next thing I should do would be to find out why that is. If I show debug message that why is alright, it looks like it should be moving. Oh, this needs to, that should be outside the raycast null check, because, yeah, that'll cause them to only update their position if they, like, don't hit anything, which I don't think is, correct. The game is froze. That's exciting. It feels like a recursive freeze, too. So there's a bug in my spatial hash raycast code, which is causing, long story short, a bunch of infinities to slip into the calculations, and, well, the game doesn't like it when infinities slip into the calculations. I'm gonna have to fix that on my own later. For the time being, I went and changed the collision world acceleration structure to an octree. That is hopefully not going to be permanent. I do expect a spatial hash to perform better in this game with a lot of, like, interconnected geometry. Very dense geometry. For now, it'll do. I'll definitely have to figure out what's going on with the spatial hash raycast code. Anyway, change that to an octree, and now everything is working. I wouldn't be surprised if there are other issues that pop up inside the 3D collision system that I just never found. I did spend a lot of time testing it and whatnot, but there are going to be things that happen that I didn't expect and I didn't test for. And it appears that, ooh, wow, that is, alright, I shouldn't have done that. Alright, I'm getting ahead of myself. It appears that there was an edge case in the spatial hash raycast code, which caused this to break. Anyway, switching over to an octree will help, but I do also have the problem where this is the value I wanted to change. The debug sphere is a little small. It's a little hard to see when I cast it, and I'd like it if it was a little bit bigger like that, and if I could see it like that. Not sure what I think about casting into the ground. Well, I'll take care of that later. Couple things here. One is that I can cast into the ground and it'll just keep going forever, and it's actually fairly easy to cast into the ground because the camera's going to be pointing downwards a lot. From the usual perspective, I'm gonna address that later on mechanically, game mechanically, so that won't be a problem. We also flying off into infinity, and I should probably put a time limit on how far they can go, on how long they can travel. So let's stop printing out those debug coordinates. Say lifespan equals 10, and that'll be seconds. Is 10 too short? I can't fathom a spell needing to live for more than 10 seconds. So the spell will fizzle if it either travels off into the distance for 10 seconds, or it's going, or if it hits something. So that should be a couple more seconds. And it fizzled. If I cast into the... Really? Oh, it's going and getting stuck in, like, the player collider, isn't it? Alright, enough of that. Also, apparently the player is not, like, always staying grounded on slopes, which is interfering with a few things, which is weird. But this should be all I need for the spell right now. Anyway, spells will expire if they just go off into infinity. I suppose I can commit that. Apparently, that was a lot of changes related to debugging the spatial hashes. So in general, and the player may not necessarily be the only thing that can cast a spell, and also there may be other like effects in the game that are counted as spells by the game, but the player can't do themselves, like some kind of enemy attack. I will give spells a property that is parent or caster or something like that. I'll go with caster because we're dealing with magic here. I can initialize that to undefined, and when the player casts a spell, the spell's caster will be set to the ID of the player, or the ID of the enemy, or the NPC, or whatever. And when the spell is traveling through the air, we could mask it out. We could try to mask it out, but I'm just going to, I think, you'll have to remind me. All right, I went and checked, and the simplest way to get the collision mask of an object will just be C object dot mask. We can temporarily zero that out while we do the raycast, and then once we finish with the raycast, we can reset it. Some people don't like constructing their code like this. Some people don't like temporarily zeroing out a value and then resetting it when you're done, or that kind of thing. It doesn't offend me as long as you don't allow it to leak out elsewhere into your program. But that is certainly the fastest way to prevent the player's spells from colliding with the player themselves. Why is that getting set to 0? Hang on. Alright, that's not why they were just sticking there, apparently. Oh, it's because, it's not because it was colliding with the player, it's because if you... Hang on. If we instance destroy from hitting something, we should probably return out of this block of code anyway. And probably do the same thing for the lifespan. Return out of the block of code without calculating anything else. There. Now we should be able to, there's like a bunch of moving parts here which are causing, there we go. Alright, so, the spell is fizzling when it hits the, whatever that is. Spell is fizzling when it hits that bridge, the crate. Alright. And, the spell will never collide with the player, even if it technically originates inside the player. Another thing I want to do is going to be, that's NPC, that's not player. Another thing I'm going to want to do, I think, is have the spell originate at probably, for now, I think I'll have the spell originate at the camera target, at the player's camera target. And it can travel in the direction that the camera's looking, but just so that the spell doesn't originate at like the player's feet at the bottom of the sphere, it would be a little bit more natural if it originates at the camera target. So we can instance create self.cameratarget.x, camera target y, camera target z. And if you were to refine this further, it would probably make sense to like have on the player model slash sprite slash whatever. Oh, that needs to be transformed. like an attach point for the spell, like an attach point for the player's wand or staff or whatever. But for now, we'll keep it simple. How is the camera target? All right, I'll take the player transform and the camera target transform, and I'll use that. Need to space out this code a little better. I'll call that source because it's a shorter variable name. And that can be the transformed position of the camera target. And that can be where the spell originates from. Like, that's approximately where the wand would probably be, right? I32 argument is array. That's right. That's matrix transform vertex. That's not one of mine. Needs to be indices 0, 1, and 2. And all right, so now the ball originates at the basically where the cursor is on screen. That's great. Let's see. This took a little longer than I expected it to. Mostly thanks to me making typos and having to rerun the game like 4 times to do something that should have been done right the first time, and then of course having to hunt for the bug, and the spatial hashes took a little longer than I really wanted it to also. Alright, let's look at Codecks. What can I check off? So I've got a spell object. I gave that 8 points, really. That was like the easy part. I didn't do anything else. Alright. I feel like I should have gotten more done in this video, but I have been recording for a while. So I think I'm going to end it off here. Next time, I'm going to create some objects which can be affected by spells. Again, probably won't actually get to the spells themselves in the next video, but I have a little bit more setup that I want to do. Figuring out which objects can be affected and how they're affected and that sort of thing. And that's probably going to be next time. Until then, my name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games. If you want the code for this, look for the GitHub repository down in the video description. The stuff that I got done today is going to be in the 0.21 release tag, week 21. I have a Patreon, so if you want to contribute to the channel, links to that can be found in all the usual places. Otherwise, I hope you all enjoyed that, and I will see you all later. Special thanks to Army Armbuster, DJ Gibbles, Edward Holt, GameMaker, Manta Ray, Syndra Larson, Squarecrow, Vitro V, and Zenjament for supporting these videos. If you want to contribute to the channel, head on over to the Patreon page down in the video description to join the fun.